Morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of Annapolis County Council to order. We'll begin off with our roll call. When I call your district number, if you respond with your name, please. District 1.
Sprout.
District 2.
McDonald.
District 3.
Wayne Fowler.
District 4.
McNeil.
District 5.
Gregory Hemming.
District 6.
Morrison.
District 7 is myself, Timothy Hivinsky. District 8.
Michael Dunn.
District 9.
Wendy Sheridan.
District 10.
Martha Roberts.
And District 11.
Diane LeBlanc.
Perfect. Thank you very much. You have the agenda before you. Could I have a movement? Councillor Gunn, I think you said you had an item that you'd like to have added to the agenda. Oh, you're muted, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to add Bear River Comfort Station, please, and meetings.
All right. Could I have a seconder for those additions? Or no?
McNeil.
I was just going to add something else, Timothy, if I could.
Oh yes, Councillor Sheridan.
I had an inquiry on fall cleanup. Could I just get fall cleanup added to that, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We have a motion to approve the agenda as amended. My apologies.
Move.
That was moved by Councillor LeBlanc and seconded by
McNeil.
Councillor McNeil. Thank you very much. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. Thank you. We have 3 sets of minutes to be approved today. First, for our July 21st regular council meeting. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes? Thank you.
Hold on. I'd like a correction.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Prout.
A correction?
Errors and omissions. Councillor Gunn.
Well, thank you. Thank you. A correction. The first sentence of the last paragraph of district councilor's report. Hey, oh, excuse me, Alec. I didn't quite need the page here. I'd have to go to my councilor's comment. Thank you. One moment. I'll get that for you.
Page 5, is it? Just the comments? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, is that what we're looking for here?
Yeah, okay, 5 of 69. Your comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had it. When you're trying to keep these things all queried up and working this way, it's not an easy thing to go back and forth.
Back and forth for
When
documents.
you're, not computer literate like myself.
Did
Back
you want
to
to add
this.
the word not, Michael? Or
Yes.
I
Yeah.
saw that too.
Correction, the first sentence of the last paragraph of my counselor's comments from last night should read, have been from the constituents who do not see their needs met by the new fiber optic bill, is what it should read.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that correction. Anything further?
That's all. Thank you.
All right.
I'm still trying to find it. Sorry,
It's
hang on.
actually on page 6
It's 6.
on the version that I'm looking at.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
All right. All in favor?
those are posted as submitted, so I can make that correction, yes.
Yes, please make that correction. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion to accept the minutes indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. Next, we have our special council meeting from July the 23rd. We have a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Gunn. Any errors or omissions in that set of minutes that you noted? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. And finally, special council from August the 5th. We have a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor Hemming, seconded by Councillor McDonald. Thank you. Any errors or omissions in that set of minutes that you noted? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. All right, we will continue now with councillors' comments, and if you'll permit, I'll go through this by order of district. So we'll start off with District 1, Councillor Prout.
Thank you. Well, things are continuing to roll along. As I said the last time we met, I would add that there was some discussion people are preparing to send the students and their family off to schools and universities. And I know there's a lot of concern out there, and I hope things go as well as we're told they will. That's a real concern for all the families in my district, and I'm sure in others as well. Just a comment on something that brought a little normality back. I'm sure I wasn't the only one on council. The Lawrencetown Fire Department's fish and chip sale on the weekend was great. It was great to get on the exhibition grounds and go through at what is, I'm sure, the #1 spot to eat when the exhibition is actually on. So that was a great thing. So
Terrific. Thank you, Councillor Proud. District 2.
District 2, we've had some concerns, although the weather's been beautiful if you like summer in Nova Scotia, but it's been dry, and we've had concerns with the water in the water utility in my district in Margarettsville. But I'm sure we'll hear more about that as the meeting goes on, but I got to show my appreciation for the staff of Annapolis County for being on the ball and making sure they do not run out of water. I'm very pleased with the action. And sometime in the future, I thought we were going to hear something from Seaside Communications in our internet build, but maybe I'll hear more on that today as well. The internet build is very important to me and the residents of Annapolis County, and more communication is always better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. District 3.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's good to see all the people going to stores and what have you and wearing face masks and stuff and following the protocol for culvert, and it's just great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. District 4.
Yeah, not a lot going on. I've trying to get a lot of work in, but also I've been pretty busy trying to get stuff ready to go campaigning. So, I mean, with the way things are now, the social distancing and the masks, it's going to be a project. But anyway, we'll be out knocking on doors. Thank you.
Thank you so much. District 5.
Well, I'm just excited and pleased that the way municipality and the residents have stepped up to this whole COVID nightmare. It's quite pleasing. And I pinned just a couple lines this morning that I'll read. To meet the demands of the 21st century, municipalities as centers of influence, as change agents, as cooperatives, must now be willing to take intelligent, bold risk in order to address the urgency of climate destabilization, as a way to buffer local residents from a much diminished and unstable global financial market, to provide local alternatives to unfair, unjust, and nearsighted market economies, and to build educational models based on global citizenship, volunteerism, and learning. Some municipalities in Nova Scotia are stepping into such a sustainable and regenerative vision. And I can say without hesitation that the municipality of the County of Annapolis is at the forefront of this intelligent shift. We have done well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hemming. District 6, Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I've noticed a large influx of new residents in District 6, and that's a great indicator that our county has many attractions that draw folks to our area. There are many young children included in the new families as well, and we need to do all we can to foster a safe environment within which they can play, grow, and prosper. And I will be saying more about that at other occasions. As my colleagues have indicated, COVID-19 is going to be with us for a while yet, and we must make sure that we continue to respond to its challenges in appropriate individual and organization responses. My appreciation continues to go out to those folks who are taking cares, keeping safe, and acting responsibly. Local activities are flowing well. The Clementsport Legion weekly suppers continue to be sold out. The Deep Brook Lions Club monthly takeout is doing very, very well. And Upper Clements Hall is back in business again. The famous Deep Brook Flea Market held in the Deep Brook Church Hall on Saturdays is a going concern again. And the pop-up market at 3 o'clock every Wednesday afternoon in the lower parking lot of Basin View Center is proceeding well also. As you know, I'm the county rep on the board of the Annapolis Valley Regional Library System, and I'm very happy to report that the books continue to fly out the doors. Actually, for some, they don't actually fly, but circulation is recovering nicely. And over 25,000 masks have been distributed thus far through the Annapolis Valley Regional Library System. And this is yet another system provided by your libraries. And I urge you, if you're not a member of the local library, to please join. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just very briefly, I'd like to add my comments to my colleagues who expressed appreciation to residents who have held strong in the course of the pandemic and the restrictions for mobility that have arisen in consequence. As our children are preparing to go back to school in a couple of weeks, I would like to make a plea to our residents to not slacken their efforts in this respect. I have heard a lot of anecdotal reports from store owners and grocery store owners that they're sensing a mounting frustration with mask requirements in lots of stores. That some resistance is building, and people, of course, do get weary of this. I know that a lot of the restrictions are wearying me, but the safety of our families, the safety of our vulnerable senior citizens, and the safety of the children who will be returning to school depends upon all of us and our willingness to comply with the restrictions that have been put in place. Schools are the largest social gatherings that take place on a daily basis in the towns and communities of Nova Scotia. So they're an excellent opportunity for transmission. And of course, the schools have put in very careful and carefully considered restrictions for student activities. But we have to do our part as well, because if we slacken our efforts, we're liable to see the impact of a second wave here that might be significantly more impactful than the first wave has been to us. We want to keep our families safe. So please do continue to follow the social restrictions put in place by the province. And I'll pass it along to District 8. Councillor.
This past month, like others, listen, I've been trying to stay cool and hot. I attended the Midway River Community Forest meeting via Zoom call, and learned that the Department of Natural Resources has approached them to address some questions about how the triad model in the Leahy report could work and how it could be implemented. There'll be more positive, good news coming from the Mersey River Community Forest Group, and I'll keep you informed as I learn more. I continue to field calls regularly from constituents about concerns about the lack of planning to include the south end of our county in the fiber op build. I was, however, told two important things. Firstly, that the Western Valley Development Authority ran a line out through Virginia Road to Milford. That's been there for years, and it sits dark, unused. Allegedly, they sold it to Eastlink, and it has yet to been activated. And secondly, that Bell is running a fiber optic cable from Queens County in the direction of Maitland Bridge, but they're going to stop at the bridge. So that's good news. This is what people in the district have provided me, and I'm pleased to have something that we may be able to work with and to report back to council with. I have also had calls about the process of voting, of how the process of voting will happen, particularly in areas of little to no internet and cell phone reception. I have also had questions about the school and how taxpayers will directly benefit from its presence. And I have also had phone calls about bringing water across the bridge in Bear River and how is this progressing. And I'll have more of that in my addition to the agenda. Thank you. But I'd like to add one more thing. You know, I'd like to congratulate people how they've been, you know, handling the COVID pandemic as well. We're all wearing masks and we're all being very safe, and we've got it down almost to no cases. But then all of a sudden, we will get 2 cases, 3 cases. Oh, travel related. So I'd like to, at this point, ask the provincial government to do oversight on those that are coming to our province, because so many stories I've heard of people coming here and no one ever overseeing once they're here. Nobody touches base from the government with them. So I'd like to ask the government to do a little more oversight on those coming into the province.
Thank you. District 9?
Yeah, I want to promote a couple 50-50 draws that are taking place. And one's with the local fire departments. It's the Fire Association across Nova Scotia. And you just Google it and it'll come up 50-50 draw for firefighters. And you can actually pick a drop-down box, choose your own local fire department and support that department. Because right now their fundraisers are pretty much next to nothing. They can't do too much. So this one really helps them. That money goes to the local department when you support it. Also, the Lions Club are doing the same thing. Now, the fire halls is weekly, the Lions Club is monthly, and they're doing exactly the same thing. Some of the draws, I think somebody from Digby won last week, and it was somewhere around 30,000 that they won with the take home. And I also want to congratulate the Lawrencetown Fire Department on a great fundraiser. I know they did very well. I was there, I waited quite a while, but it was well worth the wait, and they did an amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Warden. District 10.
And I would also like to thank the Lawrencetown Fire Department. They did an outstanding job with organizing the route in, the route out. Everybody that talked about it and was there, they commented on how well organized it was, and they were taking the safe protocols from the government, and they did an outstanding job, and my hat is off to them for even making the efforts to try and fundraise in our circumstances. And they did very, very well. Saturday, they did 850 meals, and Sunday they did 900. And, you know, my hat is off to them. It was long days and hard work, and they deserve to be congratulated.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Deputy Warden. And District 11, Councillor LeBlanc.
Yes, good morning. I have to say that everybody's working hard to try to do their best in raising money and trying to be as normal as can be. And like everybody else, we councillors have said, everybody's working diligently to do their best, because we have to be prepared. And in doing so, if we don't slack off and we keep our mask and we do what needs to be done, we will definitely be able to overcome this at one point or another. Not that it's going to be soon, however, we have to be prepared. When school is opening, yes, that will be something to look forward to see how our students are going to be dealing with this. So hopefully the students will have the time to be able to be with their friends, but also to be safe. It will be a different call for the teachers, as well as the parents, as well as the students. So everybody will have to be diligent on how they do their safety protocol. On the other side, I'm not going to say that I'm with no bears. However, I haven't heard of any bear in my district at this particular moment, but I think they've decided to go visit the Nicta area. So Councillor Sheridan has heard a few people saying about that. And the last thing is that the Three Rivers Community Center is open, and they are doing certain different things in the community hall and outside yard sales. And it's slowly opening up to possibly doing and making a little bit of money so that they can continue on in their projects that they want to do as well. So everybody be safe and thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. In that case, let's proceed. We don't have anything listed under business arising for the minutes unless anybody has something that they recall that's not there. So let's proceed to new business. First item is the Margarettsville water update. I'm not sure who's speaking to this. Let's see.
Steve.
Was
Steve McGinnis.
Steve McGinnis, but he's not there yet. John, do you want to start off?
We've been, Steve may join in here. There he is. Go ahead, Steve. You're on mute.
You're
Steve,
muted,
you're on mute.
Steve.
I believe the update is in regards to we have one funding partner in place, but we're still waiting for the other funding partner. If at this point, is that correct, John?
You were breaking up. I couldn't quite hear you. They're looking for an update on the Margarettsville.
Margarettsville or Bear River?
Margarettsville.
Oh, I apologize. Margarettsville. Actually, we're making good progress. We found a major leak. We had a contractor come in with hydrophones, and we listened to the water lines essentially in the evening when the flows are low. We identified a major leak that cut our overnight consumption by 40%. So right now we'll be setting up a new schedule in terms of the hauling of the water from Bridgetown. We were hauling every second day about 5 or 6 loads, about 30,000 gallons. But I think with this, the leak being found, we're holding our own, but we still need significant rainfall. The rainfall we had last night actually brought the wells up to a level where they are now gravity fed, where we were pumping to our wells before from the small pond into the wells and over to the treatment facility. So we're holding our own, but we need significantly more rain. And the community's been very cooperative, and my hat's off to them. But I think some long-term residents there understand the situation that we're in because they've gone through it before. Until we get some rain, I recommend, and we'll have the no watering in place, and we'll go from there.
All right. Any questions? Deputy Warden.
So when we run into these circumstances, where does the funding come to provide that service?
Well, right now it's within the individual utilities. As council knows, they're separate utilities, separate from the rest of the county budget. So right now, we need to account for the water that is being hauled from the Bridgetown utility, which is a separate utility, and hauling it to the Margarettsville utility, which is part of the broader county utility. So we'll have to do a reconciliation of that and find out what the budget hits will be to the respective utilities, because Bridgetown utility will need to be paid for that. But so that's kind of it there. I see John's got his hand up.
I have John McDonald first, and then I was going to go to John Ferguson. But John, do you need to interject right here?
It's just a point related to the expenditure of this when one water utility is experiencing a drought. Steve and I did briefly discuss the possibility of making a targeted state of an emergency so that we could see if we could recover those costs as well. I'm not sure we're at that level as of yet, but the water table is low and people will need potable water. So we did discuss briefly of a possible target state of an emergency, but we would like to discuss that further and just monitor it to see if there is a possibility that we could recover that money.
Okay, Councilor McDonald.
Yeah.
And also, you wanted to resume, Deputy Warden?
I just wanted to follow up. I mean, and I'm just curious of how that works out, because I wasn't under the understanding where we provided that water, where that money comes from to pay for that. And my other question was, is it at all possible to, I mean, would it help if we had another well there or something that would supply more water? Or is this not possible to have a better well? Or
If I may, my reading of the history in Margarettsville is they've tried that on several occasions, but because of the geology there, the ledge, as it's called, it's we just can't find or haven't been able to find a productive well. When we went through the source water protection process several years ago for Margarettsville, my understanding there was some sort of underground aquifer, I gotta get my direction right, south of the current facility, but we haven't chosen to explore any of that. Part of the ground source water protection plan, year 5, is to sink some monitoring wells and see what the groundwater is doing there. But it's a very, very difficult process to find a well that's productive enough to supply water to that community. That's why we kind of got a blend of spring-fed pond going through our treatment facility to supply the community.
thank you.
Councillor McDonald, sort of held you for so long. Go right ahead, sir.
No, I'm fine. All I want to do is congratulate and thank again the staff for being all over this. Other than air, if we don't have water, we don't exist very long. And most of those people, well, they don't have wells anymore because they have a water utility, and it's the response has been great. And finding leaks in old infrastructure, it takes time. And I just thanks, Steve. Please pass it on to your people. It's very much appreciated by those who drink water.
Thank you very much. All right. Is there anything further questions or comments? If not, let's go on in that case to our RFD for AM 2.7.9 COVID response policy. Deputy Warden, if you would. Oh, you're muted.
That 7 days notice be given to municipal council to approve AM-2.7.9 COVID response policy as circulated.
I have a seconder for the motion, please. Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. I'll just say right off the bat, I really appreciate the time and consideration that's been put into developing this. This is a policy that governs COVID-19 procedure for all employees of the county, the municipality of the County of Annapolis. I think it's well thought out, and it's going to be an important document for guiding our reopening procedures as we endeavor to keep our staff and the public safe. Anything further, folks? Councillor Gunn. If you could, you need to unmute, sir. Sorry. You're muted, Councillor Gunn. There you go.
More time bouncing back and forth. Yes, I actually quite appreciated the work that Don and the staff have put into this, but I very appreciated, I think it was 5.2, travel, and in particular, line C that was quite apt. We're asking our employees to avoid certain places, advisor of their travel plans. And it's reasonable that if they come back and don't, do that, they'll be expected to stay away for 14 days. I think that's very smart. That's all I wanted to point out. No, thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thanks very much. The only thing that I might suggest is a very small amendment to this would be in 5.2, the last line. In light of the evolving nature of these travel advisories, the municipality strongly urges employees and councillors to reconsider all non-essential personal travel. And I would suggest that we remove the word personal. I think that this we want to avoid discretionary travel if possible. It's not just an issue of people's holidays, but there are also events for which staff and counselors would normally be traveling in order to attend events. Some of those events are possible to attend virtually at this point. Others are still being hosted physically in person. But I think until we have at least seen whether or not the second wave of COVID-19 is going to materialize and exactly how it's going to impact us, I think it's worthwhile waiting for a period longer and simply trying not to engage in discretionary travel, period, whether or not it's for personal uses. That would be my feeling on that. Would someone be willing to move that as an amendment? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Sheridan, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion? All in favor, signify by, Carolyn, yes? Carolyn, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm working blind because I'm typing on one screen and I'm not able to watch the conversation. So was the motion to remove the word all non-essential personal travel?
No, just
or non-essential.
Just all
personal
non-essential travel. If it's discretionary, if it's not necessary that we travel, whether it's for work or personally, we'd like to keep people in province at the very least.
So it's to remove the word personal.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. It's already been moved to accept the policy as, do we have a motion? Or so that's already, do we, any further discussion on this?
A seconder for are we on 1.4.4?
We are on, no, we're on 2.7.9. We still have to vote on the actual policy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's fine. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. And then on to AM 1.4.4 comfort centers and shelters policy. Actually, Don, would you mind before we actually introduce this and I have the deputy warden read the motion, would you mind just speaking to this policy a little bit?
Sure. Just briefly, I've consulted extensively with Carolyn and Brian as to our current procedures. So this policy is not a recommendation of what we think should be. This reflects what we currently have. So this is to give counselors a clearer picture of what we currently have in place as a basis for considering, is this how you would like to proceed or would you like changes?
Fair enough, thank you. And I certainly appreciate the clarity that we'll give for community groups as well, because I think there's a lot of confusion on the distinctions between comfort stations and shelters and what the triggering procedures are for opening those and who's responsible for costs and how those are recouped. And this lays all of those procedures out very clearly. So I really appreciate having, I think it'll be a benefit to our community halls as well. Deputy Warden, would you like to read the motion for us?
At 7 days notice being given to municipal council to approve AM-1.4.4 comfort centers and shelters policy as circulated.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Morrison. Discussion on the motion. Okay, Deputy Warden first, then Councillor Morrison, then Councillor Sheridan.
I'm just curious to see if once this policy has been passed, if there will be any communication with the halls and the fire departments. Like, are we going to send this out to them so they have an understanding of what we have in place?
Don?
Certainly, I think that would be beneficial. We hadn't, as staff, got to the point of going forward with how it would be distributed after the fact. We'd only been talking about the development of the policy as a way of getting everyone on the same page. But if that's council's wish, I'm certain that we would be able to undertake that.
Terrific.
Yeah, I would like to see it distributed to the facilities that this could possibly affect.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think we need a motion for that. I think we're all agreed. It would be helpful to have this circulated to those associations. All right. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I'd like to begin by thanking the members of staff who were involved in drafting this description. It's very, very useful. As chair of one of the county REMO committees, and when I say county, I include the towns of Middleton and Annapolis Royal, we are going to need to continue when we are able to have meetings, to continue discussions with our colleagues. Another point I'd like to make is, notwithstanding what is in here, community halls are independent, autonomous organizations, and they will continue to be free to do what they consider best while trying to adhere to this document as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sheridan.
Yeah, I would like to thank the staff for doing this. It was, I had a lot of questions from members of the conference station in the Nicktoy area, and this will be very helpful. There's just one thing that they did mention to me in regards to the 72 hours, because apparently you're not supposed to eat food out of your fridge or freezer after so many hours, plus the fact that your cell phone will not last for 72 hours without a charge. So they're questioning the 72 hours, and I'm not sure if anybody else has any thoughts on that, but that is a concern of some of the members there.
Is someone able to speak to that?
I believe that's just it's a provincial standard, I think, right across Nova Scotia, is it not?
Yes, it's the provincial recommendation to households that they be able to have sufficient resources to be able to provide for themselves for 3 days in an emergency.
And they are aware of that as well, but they're questioning that because they do know, like, of some seniors, and they're going by regulated, do not eat after so many hours if your fridge has been without power. And I guess there's a concern for safety with food and their phones and things like that. So
I think both.
Yeah, just not.
John,
go ahead.
Would you like to respond? And then I'll go to Carolyn as well.
And it may be that Carol and I were going to say the same thing. As Councillor Morrison just referred to, this doesn't mean that organizations can't open, just that we wouldn't be looking to mandate it. In many, many, many circumstances, community halls, fire halls, etc., will open to provide a place to charge phones, or for people to even prepare their own food in some circumstances. So there's nothing in this policy that would indicate an organization can't open, only that it would be a very extreme circumstance for us to mandate it prior to 72 hours.
Right, and I think the concern was that they wouldn't get reimbursed if they open unless you mandated them to open. So I think if they open earlier, then they have to, they have to pay for everything because they're not mandated to open. And that was their concern. Yeah.
Carolyn, did you have something further to add?
I did. It's just on the concept of 72-hour preparedness. It's for people to be prepared in their own homes. So if that means having dry foods, freeze-dried foods, stuff that you do not have to cook to prepare, other than stuff that's in your fridge, that's the concept. Have a battery pack or a charging cord to sit out in a car and charge a phone. I carry a battery pack in my purse. I carry a battery pack for my phone in my desk. I have them everywhere. So it's because the circumstance could be that you might be in the middle of a 5-day winter storm event. And even if you could get out of your home, you shouldn't, because you're probably not supposed to be on the roads during that. So the concept of 72-hour preparedness is just that. So if a lot of times neighbors check on neighbors, but you should have, every one of you on my screen right here, right now, we're in hurricane season, should have a 72-hour kit by your back door in case you needed to either bug out of your home or you needed to be prepared. It should have water for enough water for everyone in your household, should have enough food for you and each person that it contains and your pets. There are many, many guidelines on 72-hour preparedness, and that is the education that we're trying to make people aware of.
And can I just make one more point? There was it was spoken about in regards to people's medicine that have to be kept in refrigerated and things like that. So they were concerned about a lot of the seniors, and I guess they just wanted me to bring forth what their concerns are and why. Because they're concerned about a lot of the elderly people that, may not be able to prepare food for themselves, that may have meals brought in that won't be brought in, that may have insulin in the fridge or whatever medicines in the fridge. And it's just things like that they were concerned of, and they just wanted to bring that to the table so everybody understood the 72-hour may not meet everybody. It may not be right for everybody.
And so the education is have a plan, know the risk, and make a kit. So that should be part of the community planning, is how those seniors are going to be able to plan for that.
And
Education.
To know where they, and it will take time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further, Councillor McDonald.
Yes, sir. On page 29, under comfort centers, number 10, right in the middle of the paragraph, REMO must be notified. I'm a little concerned with the word must. REMO must be notified when the comfort center is opened or closed. Only a few moments ago, Councillor Morrison indicated that they were independent, right? These are run by local societies in their communities. They aren't ours. They aren't REMOs. They belong to the residents of those communities. And if they choose to open immediately when the power goes out, because they can, or people in the area lose their power or require some communication, but there's still power at the community hall, why is the word must in there? The word must in there appears to me like if you opened on your own, you're not eligible for reimbursement. That's coming from a guy who dealt with collective agreements for 35 years, okay? I feel the word must is a little inappropriate here. I would like it changed.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. I don't think that must, I don't think the operative issue there is whether or not they get reimbursed, because that has to do with whether or not we request that they open, as opposed to whether or not they open on their own. I think it has to do with whether or not, it has to do with our ability. Do you know what? I'll pass it on to the experts rather than speaking myself. Maybe I'll pass over to Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
Hi there. I just wanted to say that there are circumstances where letting REMO know will help. For example, Hurricane Dorian, many comfort centers opened on their own. We weren't sure if they were going to be reimbursed for food and things like that. However, after the province reached a certain threshold, it was determined that they would be reimbursed. I mean, they've submitted the funding, the receipts, stuff like that. We're still waiting for that now, but in a circumstance like that, letting us know that they opened, then we let the province know, then they're put on a list kind of thing. So there's record of that to show that they actually did open. So it will help them get reimbursed in circumstances like Hurricane Dorian.
Okay, above and beyond reimbursed, the word must is awfully strong for a group of volunteers at a community hall. I'd rather see the word should, or if at all possible, or something along that line, not the word must.
John?
I'm perfectly willing to change it to should.
Perfect.
I would, if I may,
However,
I would suggest strongly urged to.
That's fine too.
Yeah.
And the other
It's
thing I
important.
was going to mention along with what Brian said, certainly there's the requirement for REMO to report to the province. They require that of us. So we need the information in order to pass it on. Additionally, we sometimes have two organizations very close together, and one organization doesn't know the other one's opening, so we're able to be a conduit of information from one organization to another. Strongly urged works fine, I can replace that.
It works fine for me too, and it's not quite must, right?
Good.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you, John.
Okay, terrific.
Well done.
Anything further, folks? Councillor Gunn. And you're muted.
Thank you. So recompense. Is it only when the province decides to fund relief, or is the county at some point, if these halls are open a couple of days because of a torrential snowstorm or something? So if they're open a couple of days, do we have to fund the coffee, the donuts, that kind of thing? Do we have to hire these halls to stay open? Or is this only done when we direct them to open?
Right.
If they get on the list of.
Yeah, they get reimbursed for certain things if we ask them to open. If we don't ask them to open, then it's neighbor helping neighbor, and they're kind of doing it, kindness of their community members. So like say certain community circumstances, it would be up to council later on if they decided they wanted to help fund recover some of them costs. And in big circumstances, like again, Hurricane Dorian, then the province will step in. They'll have their assessors working to see if it reaches a certain threshold. And once it reaches that, then they let REMOs know for each area. And then we reach out to community halls and ask them to keep the receipts. After Dorian, it's a good learning experience because I've now learned to let community halls know to hold on to those receipts just in case. Because that is something that the province will require, and they'll want those to help reimburse through the process. But if community halls open up on their own, then they won't get reimbursed unless it reaches a certain threshold provincially, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Did that answer your question, Councillor Gunn? Good. Thank you. Further discussion. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I might point out in the instance of the Cornwallis Park Community Association Hall, Felker Hall, it's been opened a number of times on its own. And the placing of a can by the door resulted in the donation over a period of time, small and rather large donations, well enough to cover the cost of what was expended during the time we were not asked to open by the county. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Morrison. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Next, the Canada Wastewater Fund amendment.
Just one question to that. With the comfort centers and COVID-19 and people gathering and whatnot, has there been any further discussion on that if we have an incident during the pandemic?
Brian, has there been discussion about that? Or maybe Don?
I sent around a document to community halls that the province provided, just protocols to kind of try to be aware of, to take, wearing masks, keeping social distance, some other guidelines that will help them if they had to open up during the pandemic.
And they have that. They have that information.
Yeah, I sent that out to all the ones that we are aware of, and I think I sent that out to councillors as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's go on in that case to the Canada Wastewater Fund Amending Agreement. I'm not, John, can you speak to this for us?
A second here. Is that the next one on the agenda, or is that?
Carolyn?
This is the document because it was a protected document from the province. I couldn't insert it, so it was circulated separately. If you got a print copy, I attached it to the back. And I put it in your SharePoint folder as well as 6D because it's, I don't know why, but I could not insert it into a PDF document. So you did get it separately.
That's right.
What's it called, Carolyn?
It's the I gave my copy away to a counselor last night. It's the Canadian wastewater. Steve can probably talk to it right there quickly.
Steve, thank you.
There's one or two.
It's an amending agreement. It's an amending agreement to extend the grant deadline to September 30th. This is one of the original Canada Water wastewater, and I think we originally 4 years ago the deadline was April 30th. March 30th, 2020. But because of COVID and other situations that we had, they've extended that. This is specifically for the Moose River Cornwallis Park transmission line, which frankly they are just wrapping up this week. So we have no problem meeting the deadline, but I think they're just getting caught up with their paperwork.
Okay.
To make sure we're all legal.
So we need a motion to authorize myself and the clerk to sign the amended agreement?
Yes, please.
Okay. Could I request a motion to have a motion of council to authorize the warden and clerk to sign the amended Canada Wastewater Fund agreement? Moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor Kraut. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. All right, next, speed limit Cornwallis Park. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. A few years ago, council was kind enough to approve a motion to reduce the speed limit from 50 kilometers an hour to 30 kilometers an hour in the business section of Cornwallis Park, not in the residential section. As I indicated in my councillor's comments, we now have a lot of new families, and really, really happily, a lot of those families are bringing a lot of children to Cornwallis Park. And the Cornwallis Park Community Association has asked, and I've agreed to put forward a motion to this effect. I move that the speed limit in the residential part of Cornwallis Park be set at 30 kilometers per hour.
This is a motion by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the motion. Councillor LeBlanc.
My question is, this I believe has to go to the Department of Highways, DIR, for a review, because we've asked this before, to have reviews of certain sections or certain roads. Is that not correct? That was my question.
Stephen had his hand
I
up.
think there are roads.
Yeah, these belong to us, so I think we have discretion on the speed limits there. Is that
They
correct?
are our roads. So where's this exactly?
Councillor Morrison.
Cornwallis Park.
So on the,
In the residential area of Cornwallis Park.
All right, further discussion?
If I may,
Yes, Councillor McNeil and then the Deputy Warden. Councillor McNeil.
it's all well enough to reduce the speed limit, and Councillor Morrison probably going to have enforcement, and that's going to be very limited. I did it downtown here in Annapolis, and it was quite a job for my members to be out there trying to enforce that section of the speed limit. But nevertheless, that's going to be your major problem. It is enforcement from the RC. Thank you.
Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, and I thank Councillor McNeil for that comment, which we realize fully. Our hope is that, first of all, residents will notice that the speed limit has been reduced. And I think that will reduce the speed at which folks will travel. It remains to be seen whether folks will travel at 30 kilometers an hour or less. But I'm confident that they will drive at a lesser speed than the speed which is now permitted. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Warden.
No, I was just wondering why the Cornwallis Association did not send in a request.
Councillor Morrison.
Because I'm the counselor of District 6, which includes Cornwallis Park Community Association, and I have excellent relations with the Cornwallis Park Community Association. And when I explained that it would require a motion of council, I was asked if I would be so kind as to shepherd this item through the consideration of my colleagues.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Further discussion? All in favor of the, Councillor Fowler.
Yeah, I just wondered, is that including the number one highway going through? That's not including that.
Councillor Morrison, go ahead.
No, it does not.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's proceed now with election facilities. So the recommended motion here, Deputy Warden.
Council approved the 15 in-person voting hall locations for October 17th, 2020, and the supporting tariff and fees proposed by staff.
All right, seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Hemming. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Gunn, and then Councillor Fowler.
Someone explain tariffs and fees, what that means. Because I don't understand it. Tariffs and fees to what? The county? Or is the county paying these tariffs and fees? Are the people? I don't understand that part of it.
Can you clarify for us, Doug?
Yeah, these are the costs that the municipality will pay to run the election. So it's the components, in this case, it's the components that go into those halls. The rental fees to the halls, the poll staff, items like that.
Does that clarify for you, Councillor Gunn?
So the
any
county's
taxes.
paying this. So with the county's paying this, we're not looking to get that money back or anything. It just comes from our taxpayers.
Normally that's paid everywhere by municipalities, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Fowler.
Yeah, in District 3, there are 2 polling stations shown here, and both of them are on the valley floor, and it's not very good for District 2 and District 3 not to have a polling station on the mountain area.
That was we did look very carefully. It was a combination of availability of facilities and availability of internet. So for instance, 4-3, we were able to go as far north as Clarence Road. So instead of being just down at 201 or Evangeline Trail, you do at least have a bit farther north, closer to the mountain, another major east-west route for number 3.
Yeah, well, people from Finney's Cove sure ain't not going to want to drive all the way to Clarence to put in the vote. That's all. Thank you.
Right.
Or Bridgetown.
So Doug, there was no possibility of having one over on the Shore Road, one of the community halls there?
Correct. We did look at it. We did look, myself and our tech team did explore a number of halls and did internet checks, and we couldn't set anything up over the mountain.
Okay. All right. Deputy Warden.
When I was looking through this, I guess I didn't understand why the hall rentals went up so much.
That's part of your decision today, and I'll explain that to you. In the past, we've just rented for one day. Okay. But given now with COVID-19, and that we have to get in there early and do setup and do the taping on the floor and items like that, plus we have to bring in computers, we now need a number of days at each hall. So that's why we wanted to point that out to council, and we felt it was worth pointing out to you. It's much different in the impact to them versus us being in and out in one day as we were in the past.
Okay, thank you.
For the discussion, Councillor McDonald.
I think I know the answer, but I want to express out loud. I have residents that may be closer to Melbourne Square in District 1 or Clarence Community Club in District 3. It's okay if they use those facilities, is it not? They do not need to use the one in District 2. They could use any one if they chose.
Exactly. Thanks, Carolyn. Exactly, Councillor. Yes. Because of the electronic system, the system knows where the person is and presents the right ballot to them wherever they vote from. And in addition to those walk-in locations, let's not forget people have 2 weeks, 24/7 access to the online tool. Thank you, Councillor.
That was why.
Thank you.
Further questions? None. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Next, municipal election, personal protective equipment.
That council approve the tariff and fees and supply plan for personal protective equipment for in-person voting locations for the 2020 municipal election.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Sheridan. Discussion on the motion. Deputy Warden.
So my understanding is we receive masks. Do we not have masks on hand in the municipality?
I know that some of those have been deployed. I'm not sure how much we have left. Let's see. I was looking for Steve.
Oh.
Carolyn?
On behalf of your election team, I have taken 250 of the masks out of the 3 boxes that were provided to us. And I think Doug may be able to speak to it and find it quicker than me. I think we removed a lot of the cost of masks out of this.
Yeah, having those 250 masks out of our existing supply reduced the costs here. But when we added up our estimates of how many we'll need per poll staff, per number of polls, and having a small supply to offer to members of the public who don't wear one, and that's just for the overall safety of the locations and the safety and comfort of the poll workers, we came up with an additional total that meant we needed to buy 300 additional masks.
Okay. Further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Next, municipal election, additional advertising. Deputy Warden.
The council approved the additional election advertising activities and applicable tariffs and fees.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Henning. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify, Deputy Warden.
So when will these start?
The radio advertising is designed to be happening beginning in October once people have their voter letters and the voting tool is open, because with radio spots, it's a very short message. It's 30 seconds. So we can basically say our municipality, you should have your voting letter. The voting electronic tools are open, plus you'll have these in-person options. Please vote. And actually, we'll have to shorten that from what I just said. I think I went over 30 seconds. But that's why the timing of just reminding people, here are your options, please go out and vote.
Okay, so, and I saw down at the bottom, it says local newspapers.
Yes, we've been primarily advertising main things in the Chronicle Herald, but we can put out some of our flyers and general ads, some of the things that have gone on Facebook. We might have an opportunity to get some additional print coverage in some local newspapers, some small things like Bridgetown Reader, etc. So we've just put an estimated amount to allow some additional main things, including also potentially our notice of poll ads that after the end of nominations that lists the wards that have an election. We might want to do some additional local postings of that general ad.
Okay, because I know the residents, most of the residents in Springfield get a flyer from Lunenburg County with, it's like the Reader, but it comes from Lunenburg County to the residents of Springfield.
Okay.
Can you give us the name of that?
Yeah.
I can get it for you and let you know.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I might like to point out again that while it's great to advertise in the Bridgetown Reader does not go west of Annapolis Royal.
Right. That was just one example. We wanted to find some of these local publications and newsletters, and we're still working on that. If you have if any councillor has a suggestion for their district, please email me.
Okay. Councillor LeBlanc.
Yes, this is the work that's been put in here is phenomenal and something to look at. So thank you. The other thing is that was just a thought. We are all having elections. Every municipality is having an election. So therefore, is there any possible way to add or have any other municipal areas, even in our county, join in and do in these ads and share the cost? Just a question.
When you're talking about radio in 30 seconds, if you were to list half a dozen municipalities, we thought about that. You'll use up your whole 30 seconds. We have done some coordination with them. We've worked with all of the Valley municipalities to coordinate the general size and look of our main notices that have gone in the Chronicle Herald. We've coordinated with the Chronicle Herald to put all of the Valley ads together so that we're not next to a car repair place from Halifax or something. With radio, which is the majority of this, though, I think given the shortness of the spots, it might be very difficult to do joint ads. I probably will reach out on some of the messaging and content to some of our neighboring municipalities. We probably want to coordinate a little bit and make sure that the ads don't accidentally contradict each other. I think you'll see them all wanting to talk about a similar theme of a safe electronic election and encouragement to vote. But we'll do some comparison with people for just the compatibility of the messages.
All right. Well, it was just a thought.
No, thank you, Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
Further, Councillor McDonald.
Yeah, I just have a question for Doug. That's all.
Okay, I'll Councillor McDonald, then Councillor Henning, then Councillor McNeil.
Doug, I noticed, and I hope I didn't miss this. I hope this is the right place. On the written advertisement to go out to voters, it does say, if you wish to inquire if you're on the voters list, please email at. Okay, so we have a lot of people in all our districts that email is really not a great option. We used to have a phone number 4 years ago. Are we not using that phone number anymore? To check for residents to check to see if they're on the voters list?
Yeah, in our revision ad, we do post a phone number as well, so we could certainly add that here.
That would be good, and I would like to share that with my residents. So the sooner I get the phone number, the better. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Amanda.
The citizens are just calling me when they call, so I can definitely just email my number out to all of you, and then if you have any inquiries, you can pass it on.
Perfect, Amanda. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Diane? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Henning, then Councillor McNeil, then Councillor LeBlanc, or Councillor Henning.
I just wanted to tell you, Doug and Carolyn and Amanda, what an absolutely amazing job you have done with this. We simply ask you to reshape the way we've been voting in Annapolis County forever, and you were able to do that in such a remarkable way. Very few things, if any, fell through the cracks, boosted by a few councillor comments. This is absolutely amazing. To me, it shows what a municipality can do, needs to do, and thank you very much. We've relied on you, and you performed well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McNeil.
Yeah, Doug, I just have a question. Are you available for a phone call today?
Definitely, Councillor, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor LeBlanc.
May I add, any time councillors or as candidates, anything you need, that's what the RO is here for. Please don't hesitate to call.
Councillor LeBlanc.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is just a question. I know that the date for checking to see if you're on the voters list is this coming Friday? No, is it? What is it?
First. Yes.
Yeah, this Friday.
It's Friday, okay, 'cause I'm looking here and I can't find it. Why, was that set by, is that set by the province, who sets that date? Why is it?
Oh, for the end of revisions?
Yes.
We can take some, there will be some ability to take revisions after that, but the primary revision period is usually around those same dates. The main reason for the cutoff is nomination meetings begin later next week. We have to complete uploading the additions to the voter additions to the database of anyone that has contacted us so far, and then be ready to print off the voter lists for all candidates starting next week.
So what you're saying is if they called you because they weren't on the list, you would answer their questions and provide them to be on the list after the nomination time, and then
we can continue to take, but it was practical and necessary, both by the act and practicality, to give the public a general period of about a month from late July till now. It was roughly a month in total, that we advertised that the public could do their inquiries and ask to be added to the list. If we find things later, we can still add them, but the general practice is to get the majority of that collected and done before we give out voter lists to candidates.
I agree. Thank you very much. I have my answer.
Thank you.
Councillor Gunn.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate here. Voters can vote at any terminal.
Yes.
I could live in West Paradise and vote at any terminal in Clemensville if I have to be.
Yes.
Matter.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, yeah, so now when it comes to how many people are at a house, each house has had to say how many voters they've got there. Is that right? That's how it's working? I mean, how do we know who the voters are? Are the voters the ones on our tax base list?
Well, we get a separate voter list from the province. All municipalities do. We get a list from the province. Then, as we've just discussed in the last few moments here, we allow the public to inquire about that and add themselves to it if they were missed. And on that list, we have the names and full addresses, and the voter letter that invites people to vote will go to each person that's on that voter list.
And they each get a number. Is that it? A voter number, and they say,
yes, yes.
So and I vote for Tom, Dick, or Harry. That's how it
that gives them the ability to use the electronic system or go into a walk-in facility to vote.
All right. Well, I'm not sure about just two in my district, but given that information, I think it'll work. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Councillor.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Thanks very much. Next, J-class roads additional funding. I wonder if maybe if Stephen could come back on in order to address this.
Okay. The council approved the additional funding of $118,645.10 as the county's 50% share of the increased costs for the J-class repaving project, and it be allowed to be the county, and it'd be allocated to the county operation reserve, and further that the warden and clerk authorized to sign the provincial funding request.
Seconder for the motion. Seconded by Councillor Morrison. Discussion of the motion. Deputy Warden.
So do we have a total of our operating reserves?
It's in the report. Like 457,865 is the balance.
Yeah. 457,865.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's before we take the 118 out.
Yes.
Okay, further questions? Councillor Sherrick.
concerns with our operating reserve. I'm wondering if it's possible to take something off the list in consideration for if this is necessary, because our operational reserve is not where it should be. And I won't support taking more money out of it. So if there's a way around it by taking something off the list for another time, off the project list, and using gas tax, I would support it that way, but not from the operational reserve. Thank you.
All right, Deputy Warden again.
And I won't be supporting this motion either. Our reserves are very low, in my opinion. And I believe that something should be taken from the gas tax. And if we need all of these roads paved this year, then we need to relook at the gas tax money and allocate it from there. And I mean, this program has been going on for a long time, and I understand that we need our J-class roads fixed. But if it means lowering our operating reserves, then I am not in favor of doing that at all.
Holly, how much space is there currently in our gas tax?
Probably 200,000, somewhere around there. So I've budgeted $250,000 for short-term interest on the Gordonston project and the internet project. That where the interest rates are so low, we won't use all of that. And that's basically if we had almost completed those two projects this year. So we won't, if we spend 150,000 in short-term interest, that will probably be the maximum, not the 250. In addition, we have 300,000 in receivables to come back to that operating reserve. So there's nearly, 400,000 that we won't spend, and that will come back to the reserve.
The interest rate for the internet project was not something that we had originally budgeted for. And the interest on the short-term borrowing until the facilities are built with respect to the Gordonston project, that interest will be recovered as well. So we'll end up being a receivable. We just put it in a reserve before we even, I think, established the line of credit. So that would all potentially come back to the reserve. So it's really not, what's in there is 457,000, but there is other money that's likely to come back to the reserve. Well, I'm quite certain it's going to come back to the reserve.
Councilor Liddell?
So what you're saying is, approximately how much more would come back to the reserve?
300,000.
Another
More than
300?
that, I think more than that, I would say probably closer to 400,000.
Yeah. Because I've committed $250,000 worth of short-term interest in the event that we can almost complete those projects this year. But that
For two projects, that's internet and Gordonston. The Gordonston interest that's coming back to us. That we'll be receiving that as part of our agreements.
Right.
All right. Can I proceed?
Please.
When I was looking at the additional funding for this, and I looked at page 53 of 69, and we have a breakdown of all of the different costs. And the percentage of over the original estimate just about threw me off my chair, because I felt that if you're looking at a 28% increase on some of these projects, it makes it difficult for what we had before to maintain without adding money to complete them all. So we have a plus and a negative as far as I'm concerned. Plus, it would be done and over with. Negative, the operating reserve is dwindling down, but according to Holly, we would be throwing back in approximately, let's just take $350,000 back into it. So if we take it from there, my estimate goes as if we're looking at around $700,000 being back in to the reserve. Is that correct? Am I looking at that?
Yeah.
Plus, you know, okay. So I do find it hard to look at, not that I don't want these J-class roads done, however, I'd like a few more done, but at the same time, it is a lot of money to more money putting into have it completed at this moment.
Stephen, just out of curiosity, is part of this cost overrun due to the fact that there are so many projects taking place around the province right now that it's become a seller's market for the contractors?
Yeah.
Possibly.
That's correct. I mean, every municipality has the same option in participating in these programs for the repaving of paved roads. So it just increases the demand, and that's why the prices have been affected. The part of the J-class agreement is anything over 10% after they've tendered it. They inform us of it. So 11 out of the 13 roads came over the 10% mark, and that's the list that you have.
Yeah, outrageous.
Councillor Sheridan.
I just wanted to, if I could ask Holly a question. In regards to our reserves, aren't we supposed to be sitting at around 1.8 million in our operational reserve right now?
But yeah, sorry, that's what the province suggests that we have in there.
Okay, and we're going to be sitting at approximately 347,000 plus what you said you might be able to put back. I'm not comfortable with what we have in our reserves, and I still suggest maybe there's something that we could take off the capital project list, keep our reserves where they are. They're low. They're not where they're recommended. I mean, it's the same as running a budget at home. If you can't afford everything, you take something off your list. I'd like to see something off that list if we're going to go forward with this.
Do you have one?
That is an option for council. Yeah. You can. I would add that I think the road paving this year is ambitious, and I think a part of it is to get out there and try to create jobs as well. I think it's a concern through this COVID-19, and I think it's ambitious. I think the prices are up, and not something that was expected, and it's overall impacting us by about approximately $120,000. So, we can certainly take a look or take any recommendations from council of what they may want to cut if you choose. And it's certainly an option. We can put money in or we can take money out.
Okay, thank you.
That being the case, I wonder if we could request that the capital budget be added to our committee of the whole agenda so that council can have a look at it if they are.
We don't have time. We have to get back to the province now.
No, I wasn't suggesting that. I was suggesting we need to do what we have to do today. But for our next committee of the whole, perhaps we should bring the capital budget back in to see if there is something that, as Councillor Sheridan suggested, we might want to trim. That'd be fair? Deputy
You
Ward?
mean other projects aside from the road projects?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So I've got the Deputy Warden, Councillor Hemming, Councillor Morrison, Councillor LeBlanc. Have I missed anyone?
Tim McNeil.
There you go. All right, Deputy Warden, please.
Yeah, and I'm not comfortable with where our reserves are either. And I mean, is it necessary to do all of these roads this year? Because is not that program out next year as well?
Stephen?
This was additional funding for this year. There's no guarantee it's going to happen next year.
But they do have a program that addresses J-class roads every year, do they not?
The programs that we've experienced in the past are for bringing gravel J-class roads up to paved surface. Since I've been here, I have not seen a program where it's the repaving of existing J-class roads. So I think this has got a fairly unique spin on it.
All right.
And I think we should be bringing the budget forward to try and find where we're going to find the money to do all this. And if we make the decision today, then what would be the sense in looking at the capital budget?
The sense would be not all that money's been spent, not all those projects are underway. Councillor Sheridan suggested we may want to look at the capital budget to consider postponing one or more of the projects in order to free up additional space. We have to make the decision to J-class roads today, but we can certainly reconsider the capital budget at any point.
Well, to me, that would defeat the purpose. If we don't look at the budget and see if there is money that we can allot for these roads and we already approve it, then
I'm not sure what council wishes to do. The opportunity to participate in this disappears rapidly. So a decision has to be made today. If council can simply reject it out of hand if they choose to do so. But if they're concerned and they're wishing to ensure that there will be additional space in the capital in the capital budget, then we can pull the capital budget forward and go through and see if there's anything that could be postponed or put off to a future year. I don't understand how that defeats the purpose.
because the motion would already be passed or not passed by the time we get to council next month.
Yes, and so that means that at council next month, we would either be in the financial position that Holly described in terms of our reserves if we take nothing out, or if we postpone something to the following year, we can increase the space. In the capital budget by moving something. It means that the options still exist before us. But the only question we have to answer today is: are we going to proceed with this particular project? Because we have to answer this today.
Okay.
Councillor Hemming.
I just want to say, I'm a little bit nervous about funding roads at this moment in time. And, those gas tax funds are really set to fund municipal priorities. So I question if these roads are really a priority, as opposed to some of the other greenhouse gas savings initiatives that gas tax could fund. And there's extreme flexibility in the gas tax. I mean, the language in the gas tax really says to pool, bank, and borrow against this fund. I think we can find creative ways to fund some of this, but and me personally, I'd like to see this slide for a year and go back to the province and said, right now there's just enough uncertainty that we would hope that these funds would come back next year. I just think that's an extravagant cost right now, and I think there's other municipal priorities for infrastructure. So I'm leery of this. I'd like to see staff come back and see what could be adjusted a little, but I think I'd like to pass this year on those J-class roads that amount of money. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. The first thing I'd like to state is really the obvious, is that monies in the reserve fund are monies in the fund that we have chosen to reserve until we choose to use them. Second, what we are talking about here today is not, it's my view, it's not the cost of the paving, it's the increased cost. Not, we've already approved a certain amount. Next, we agreed months ago that we would look at our total budget at the end of each quarter. And the end of the first quarter was the end of June, and I look forward to looking at the financial figures for that quarter when staff can have them made available. I also think that we have promised to the residents of these roads that we were going to do this paving. And I would certainly not like to disappoint the folks who live on those roads, who are exceedingly happy that the road on which they live is finally going to be fixed. And I think my last thought is that when next we meet, I would hope that we might have the first quarter figures, and we can look at our operating budget and we can look at our capital budget and do what we said we would do when we agreed that we would look at the budget at the end of each quarter. So I will be in favor of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Councillor LeBlanc.
And I do understand what Councillor Morrison is saying. We did already approve a certain amount of money to spend on these J-class roads. However, we did not know that we were going to have to put so much additional money into it at the time. So a lot of roads that have been, or subdivisions that have been paved, people have to pay a certain amount for their share. In this particular case, it doesn't seem to be happening. So therefore, it all comes from our reserve funds, or operating reserve, if we're to pass it. I really am leery and shocked that we would have to pay such an increase on these specific roads, and the government's not doing anything about it, because we had a number, and now because it's so busy, because we want to have jobs, that we have to pay X percentage over for each and every different road. So it does bring concern. Not that I want to say to the residents, no, you can't have it. However, I think that we should kind of make sure that we don't bite off more than we can chew at this particular time, because we have other things that we also have to look at. That's my concern. Maybe we can look at half, 3/4, or do with the amount that we put in. Something has to be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McNeil.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt this benefits my area, but I too have an issue with the reserves. I mean, we're saying that money will come back, but when will it come back? I guess to go in the reserve is what I'm asking there. But I would far sooner see a partial job in my area anyway done. But I have an issue with the reserves.
Understood. Thank you. I've got Councillor Gunn, then Councillor Sheridan, and Councillor Prout. Councillor Gunn.
Thank you very much. You know, these roads, in a lot of those places, that's all those people got. That's all they get for services, those cheap roads. You know, that's pretty much it. That and the plowing, garbage picked up, that's their services. J-class roads. Some of these J-class roads, I don't need to go down the list. You can hardly drive over. These roads are a mess. These are the roads I talked about last spring, saying, well, if we're not going to look after them, my God, turn them back to dirt, because the better road, dirt. So everything has gone up because of COVID. You know, a 2x4 used to cost $2 to $3. Now it's $6. This is over the last few months. Everything's going up. Everybody's excited about getting work done. The government's dumping lots of money out there in these things. So prices are going up. And I think we actually owe it to the folks in these districts that these roads get done. We got 50 cent dollars. Isn't that what you call them, Steve, now? With the government, they're paying 50%. We pay 50%. That's a good deal. We put this off another year. The prices are even going to go up further. So in the meantime, next month, we could look at our budget and our quarter like we're going to. And let's look at some of these other very big projects we got going on, and perhaps we can shelve some of those for a minute. But right now, 50 cent dollars, I think we'd be crazy enough to let them go. I'll be voting in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sheridan.
So in my opinion, if you make a budget, you should stay within your budget. We're not staying within our budget on a lot of projects. So I am not going to support this. I will support if we wanted to maybe prioritize the list and just what we've allotted for that these projects, just take the list and go down and what's the most important roads that need to be paved. But I feel that we strongly that our reserves are too low and we should stay within budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Prout.
Thank you. I take Councillor Gunn's comments seriously, and anytime you can get 50-cent dollars, I think it's a great thing. But in the spirit of compromise, this is a very time-sensitive issue we have to decide today. Rather than see all the roads on the list, I won't say get the shaft, but be turned down because of our concerns about our reserves.
Steve, are there other projects that are over budget other than this? I think this is the only one. These are the only ones, are they, that we're aware of at this time?
We're aware of it this time, and some of the other projects, if you're referring to gas tax, some of them haven't even started. So,
So we're not over. We're not over budget. Just that this came in. This item came in based on the province budget. It came in over budget on our 50% potential cost share. So they have to go back and ask us, are we willing to add the additional money? But our other projects, they're not over budget. Just so I just want to make sure that everybody's clear on that.
So I'm not sure. I want to be clear what you mean by other projects.
Well, someone had mentioned that our other projects are over budget, and I don't believe they are. I believe it's just this list.
Right now, yes, the process was TIR provides an estimate.
Yeah.
They confirm it once it's tendered, and these are the roads that came in over that estimate.
Yeah.
I'm going to return the floor to Bruce.
Just to finish my thought, rather than see this all put in jeopardy, could we consider, and this is a mug's game, but one that we might be able to postpone rather than lose them all. That's my thought, but I just put that out there.
Thank you. That I confess, Bruce, that had been my thought as well. That we know there's a funding program in place for this year. We don't know that it will be there next year. I hate to miss the opportunity, but if we did perhaps ask the province to hold off on one of these and ask if there's any possibility that they might extend the offer for that particular street next year, like North Street by itself, and of course I know North Street needs work. But North Street by itself, if we were to defer it for a single year, that would reduce our share amount by $148,500, which would alleviate.
No, it wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't.
No,
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
No, it would. That we covered 50% of that cost, do we not?
Yeah, but the tender amount's $297,000, John. So
Right.
our share
And
is $148,500.
But the original amount was $232, so it's only up by $60,000 from the original budget.
I think you're not. Perhaps I haven't expressed myself clearly enough. We're looking at a total cost overrun on all the streets of what, $110,000, Steve? That was the figure.
118.
If we were able to talk to the province and ask if they would permit us to defer one of these streets till next year and pick it up next year, that would reduce what we're spending total by $148,500, and that would give us space to accommodate the increased charges for the remaining roads.
Oh, I see. Yep.
You see what I mean? Yeah. That was the first thought that I had on this as a possibility.
I think it'd have to be two
a
roads.
conversation we could have with the province, Stephen?
Yeah, it'd have to happen very quickly. The other suggestion I have for council is because of the price increases, if the province would entertain picking up a larger percentage so that we can stay within our budgets.
I would like to see us have that conversation with the province right away to see if there might be an alternative. I'm certain that other municipalities are in similar positions. All of us are seeing additional financial strain during this year because of how the economy has completely shifted. I don't want to deny any resident the work on the road that they need, and they definitely need them. But if we could move just that one to next year, or if the province could accept a slightly larger proportion, if they could pick up 60% perhaps instead rather than 50. I think it's worth at least asking, because
I agree.
like many of our councillors that have expressed, there is some concern over the fact that our reserves are somewhat depleted right now. But I'm very much persuaded by Councillor Gunn's statements as well.
Other municipalities are feeling a similar pinch.
Yes.
Seen some emails going around. And but just to clarify, if you say, for example, and I'm not suggesting North Street's going to stay or go, if North Street hypothetically was to go, then that figure now is completely out of the budget.
Yes.
No budget figure for that. So even putting it into next year, if you put it to next year, you're putting it back in the budget. It's still an obligation. So
yeah.
It's either in or it's out, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay.
If I might.
Councillor McNeil?
Yeah. First of all, Mills Mountain Road and North Street were damaged because all of the trucks hauling asphalt, all of the trucks hauling fill down in there, all the trucks that were doing the cross culverts traveled Mills Mountain Road and North Street. This is not because of our local traffic from Victoria Beach to the #1 highway caused this damage. They didn't. This damage was caused by the contractor because the trucks had to take these routes.
Good point.
So if you're going to do anything in my area, I would suggest the 3 side roads, Garden Street, Troop Lane, and Litany Lane, and do Mills Mountain Road and North Street, because it wasn't us that caused the damage is what I'm saying. It was the contractor.
High traffic, big trucks.
Understood.
Right.
It increased the traffic tenfold, period. And even everything coming up from Victoria Beach had to go around.
Right.
Councillor Sheridan and Councillor Leblanc?
Is this something we could defer for a day or so and let staff look into seeing which roads could be eliminated, and then bring it back maybe into a special council meeting?
That's what I was thinking, is if we could maybe defer this, hold a special council meeting on Friday and give staff an opportunity to perhaps have a conversation with the province and see whether or not some sort of an accommodation might be reached.
That'd be great.
I agree.
Is that possible, Stephen?
I know I have the contractor calling me directly waiting for a decision. I think if I may, the discussion around North Street and Mills Mountain Road is a very legitimate one. And if I could say that's the lowest priority and that we're discussing that one specifically, 2 reasons. I think it has the least amount of impact on residents that living on those streets. That's very lightly populated. The other roads, Bear River, Clementsport, and in Granville Ferry, all have significant populations on it. But I think twofold: the increase from the province, the discussion with the province about the damage done on the J-class roads, which were poor routes to begin with, and whether they're prepared to, whether there's some flexibility to pick that up. I would like the ability to tell them we'll proceed on everything except North Street and Mills Mountain by extension. And that's what exactly the form is asking us. Check off the ones you want. Don't check off the ones that you can't afford. But I do think there's the flexibility within the contract that they tendered, that if we come back and say, yeah, let's do it, we can put it back into the contract.
Okay. Councillor Leblanc, and then Councillor Henry.
And I think that that's a good way to go at it, and to make sure that we also say that because of, as Councillor McNeil has brought to our attention, certain roads have been demolished because of the high traffic big vehicles. So maybe that should be brought to the contractors as well, as to say, this is you're gaining by using these roads, but it's destroying the roads. Maybe they'll put in some of the money themselves, which I think they've had before, and so bring it as a priority. So I'd be willing to make a motion to put this on hold, to defer it for a couple of days, and for Steve to look at and discuss with these people and bring it back to us.
Now, Stephen, was that what you were suggesting, Stephen? Or because it seemed to me that you were suggesting something different. You were,
I was suggesting that, as per the form that's in front of council, agree to all but North Street. That allows the contract to proceed and be awarded. And then we have the conversation. We stay within our original budget, and the contract can move forward. In the meantime, we have those discussions, and if we're successful on any of those fronts, we can bring North Street back into the program.
so Councillor DeBlanc, I'm not sure if you're willing to change the motion you wanted to make, but would you be willing to make a motion to amend the original motion so that we approve everything with the exception of North Street at the moment to permit the municipality to have time to have further dialogue with the province about the funding of that particular parcel?
Sounds great.
Would that be all right?
Sounds good.
A motion to amend from Councillor DeBlanc. Could I have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Morrison. Discussion on the motion.
Yeah, I have a
Deputy Warden.
McNeil.
So the one that we're going to eliminate is North Street, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So did not Councillor McNeil just say that that was one of the worst roads?
I don't believe that it is.
Mill Mountain Road, he said, I believe.
Yeah.
Mill Mountain Road?
Mills Mountain Road goes to North Street.
Councillor Hemming?
Yeah, I don't think we need to debate this any further. I don't think we need to bring it back to council. I think the direction is clear to staff you have to shave $118,000 off of this. And I think, staff knows how to do that, that we get that done, we move forward with what we got. If at the end of the day, the province won't kick in more money, or we have to do it, so then it comes back to council and we redo it. But I think we need to, meet this time frame, and I want to get to as many roads as we paid, minus this $118,000 cost overrun because of this particular time, and move forward. And I think, staff has good direction. So I think I would support this motion that's been amended here, because I think that's what it does.
That's exactly what it is. Thank you. Councillor Gunn.
Thank you very much. Yes, North Street, if that was put on hold, it might not be a bad idea, because, North Street needs more than just pavement. North Street needs, remember that sidewalk issue we had last year with the kids when they come out of the school, if there's a fire, they have to walk along North Street to the west? Well, they have to walk into a dip there where there's no sidewalk. I brought this up a couple of times now. And so when it comes to North Street, perhaps that could be considered in there in another year or 2 years time, because there seriously needs to be a sidewalk because of the safety concern of the elementary school there. So we need to look at that in years to come. Thank you.
All right, Councillor McNeil.
Yeah, just looking at the 3 side streets here, that's 83,000. Is the overcost on it, the overruns, according to my figures for what's on this paper. Personally, I'd rather see the 3 side streets not done at this time, and Mills Mountain Road and North Street done. But I'm just talking my area. I don't know of anybody else's area, if they're willing to say something or not. But anyway, just throwing that out, folks.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'm not in favor.
If I just may add something, I know this citizens group was also very interested in having the North Street redone. Steve, I think you had to deal with them. So there are some citizens involved with that one. And it's really related to safety around the school and some of the things that are going on there. So there is a little bit, it may not be traveled much from that perspective, but from a safety perspective, there are citizens that are very concerned about that North Street portion.
Thank you. Councillor Morrison.
Thank you. I am very elated on what has just taken place. We've had one of the most constructive conversations we've had in a long time, all within the confines of Zoom and trying not to run over one another. And I think we've come to a consensus on this matter, and I think that's excellent. And I thank all my colleagues for being so patient with all the rest of us. Thank you.
That's right. And while I agree with you, John, there are safety concerns there, but what we're doing right now doesn't mean that North Street's eliminated. It means that we're intending to go back to the province and talk to them about what else could be managed for this.
And that's an important point to bring out, because I think if the citizens are aware that it's off the list, they're going to want to know maybe what the next step is. And so it may be off this list, but it's not off our list. And we'll be working to see how we get that done.
Stephen?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not muted. There's that concern with pedestrian traffic and access to the marshalling area goes down North Street, and it also goes down Mills Mountain Road because I believe their marshalling area is either one of the parking areas at the church at the end of Mills Mountain Road. So that's a conversation I'll be having with them. And I also know there's been some potential development activity around Mills Mountain Road that a delay would be a benefit instead of tearing up new asphalt. So I think it's a very reasonable conversation to have with the province about how can we address all these issues versus just strictly repaving over top of the road, and we're still left with sidewalk issues.
Yeah.
Thank you. Deputy Fuller.
Well, my concern, if we have citizens that are concerned about North Street, I mean, I'm kind of on the side of the side streets not being paved, because if there is a safety concern, then I think that should be addressed before streets that are not a safety concern.
Okay, thank you. Councillor LeBlanc.
And I totally agree. The safety aspect of some of these roads have to be at the forefront. However, if there's some of them that, we know that there's going to be work done on it, as Steve has told us, then I think Steve knows which ones we should be looking at and which one we should wait, because I don't want to see asphalt taken apart after it's put down. But I also want to make sure that we look at the safety of some of these roads if they are brought to the forefront. Thank you.
Stephen, if you would. So if you were to be making a specific recommendation to council about one or more of these roads that we should consider having that conversation with the province over in order to reduce our initial commitment right here, which would you select on the basis of your knowledge of the infrastructure?
Well, I'm not going to pick on any particular community yet, but I think there's enough issues that surround the North Street and Mills Mountain Road that warrant a second look, especially the overall damage or degradation that was done by the upgrade of Highway 1 or Clements Granville Road through there, and using those streets as haul roads warrants a conversation with the province about undertaking maybe a bigger share, and the access to in terms of the safety aspects of the school. And that was a long discussion. A number of years ago, they looked about going down Litany Lane and through Garden Street and getting the kids out that way. But I guess the community, because it's a community-driven thing and a school board-driven conversation, they've decided on what the best route is for the kids to Marshall. And I believe it's out North Street to the west and down Mills Mountain Road. So those two aspects warrant a second discussion.
Yeah, so that was why I recognize that there is a safety concern here, but that's partly why we have a stronger position to express to the province to try to persuade them to take on a larger portion of that particular piece of the project. We've got several rationales that make very compelling sense for why the province might want to consider a larger role with that particular street. So that was largely why I wasn't thinking that we don't want to proceed with it. We certainly want to see it done. But this is the one that I think there's a very good argument to be made to the province as to why they might want to take a larger role with this particular street. Councillor Hemming?
Yeah, I think I'd like to call the question on this. I think we've got pretty much agreement, except I'd like to say Mills Mountain Road really is split down the middle between Burt McNeil's district and my district. So what I would suggest is that we pave the west side of Mills Mountain Road in District 5 this year. and work on the other one whenever we have money available.
All right, the question's been called on the.
Could you read that?
Could you please refresh my understanding? Did we have a core motion made to begin with that's being amended, or is this the first motion?
Let me just double check here.
Thank you.
Yes, there was Deputy Warden Roberts and Councillor Morrison moved the original motion.
Okay, so this is a movement to, so question's been called on a motion to amend. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye.
What's the amendment?
What's the amendment? Can you read the amendment?
The amendment would be to send this in with agreements on all streets except North Street, and that staff would and to direct staff to have a conversation with the province about their playing a larger role in the redevelopment of North Street.
So we're eliminating North Street for now. It's going to go to the motion.
We're taking it off of what we're
taking off the list. Okay, clear.
All right, I'm going to go district by district just to make sure I have this really cleanly. District 1, Councillor Proud.
So just so that I'm clear, this is amendment?
On the amendment.
The amendment, that's right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes on
District
the amendment.
2.
Yes on the amendment.
District 3 on the amendment. Councillor Fowl.
Yeah.
District 4.
Nay.
Thank you. District 5.
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
District 7 is yes. District 8. Is that a yes? Yes, okay. District 9, Councillor Sheridan, pardon me.
Yes, on the amendment.
Thank you. District 10.
Nay, recorded.
Thank you. And
Mine too.
Who said mine too? I'm sorry.
Councillor Roberts are the two nays, and they both asked it recorded. Councillor LeBlanc, yea or nay?
Question, this would, so that it eliminates the 118,000 overrun, correct?
That's right. More than.
Or more, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's 9-2. The motion's carried. Thank you very much. Now on the core motion itself, which has now been amended, all those in favor? District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes, sir.
District 3.
Yes.
District 4.
Nay. Recorded.
District 5.
Yes.
District 6.
Yes.
District 7 is yes. District 8. Yes.
Yes.
District 9.
Yes.
District 10. Deputy Warden.
Oh, nay, sorry.
District 11.
Recorded.
That's yes. Motion's carried. And both Councillors McNeil and the Deputy Warden have asked their votes be recorded. Just to reiterate, that does not mean that we're not planning to address that street. We definitely are, but we want to have a conversation with the province about the shares that we put into this in order to try to manage our own financial contribution, which is getting tight. All right, let's move on to reports and recommendations. We have a recommendation.
May I please? I note the time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Will we be taking a short break or continuing on?
Yes, perhaps we could, why don't we recess? Should we recess right until 1 o'clock, folks, or do we need a shorter time than that?
What was it again?
Are folks happy to recess till 1, or would you like a shorter lunch?
35 minutes is good.
Okay, let's recess for lunch and we'll reconvene at 1 o'clock. All right, thanks, folks.
So do we sign off or?
Hello, everyone. Hope you had a good lunch. I'd like to welcome you back to our session of council. We're going to continue with reports and recommendations, and the first of those is a recommendation from the Audit Committee. I'm going to ask Councillor Morrison if you'd read that for us.
Oh dear, just hold on now.
Sure.
Okay. I move in accordance with the recommendation of the audit. Let's start all over again. Okay? In accordance with the recommendation of the Audit Committee, I move that Municipal Council authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to engage Kent and Duffett Chartered Professional Accountants to audit the financial statements of the municipality of the County of Annapolis, which comprise the consolidated statement of financial position as at March 31st, 2020, and the statements of operations, change in net debt, and cash flows for the year then ended. and a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information by signing the audit engagement letter dated July 1st, 2020.
Seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion of the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thanks so much. Next, we have our report for returning officer. Doug, thank you very much for this very informative report. Is there anything I'll ask for a motion to receive it to begin with.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor Sheridan. Discussion. Maybe Doug, do you want to direct us to the highlights, or should we just ask you questions?
I'd welcome questions, and we have included that letter to voters. So if there's any feedback from council, this would be an ideal time to collect it.
All right. Councillors' thoughts and suggestions and questions. All right. It sounds like everybody's thoroughly delighted with the report. Well, thanks very much. Oh, there we go, Councillor Proud.
Oh, I was looking, I think I've misplaced it in the other room, but I had a question, Doug, on the 2-page summary thing from you. Basically the update.
Yes.
And the back. I'm assuming from what I understood with your information that it came with, that's going to anyone who is looking to run. So is the information that's on these, could people who are going to get pamphlets put together use that in there? Would that be Cricket? Is that?
Yeah, definitely. That's factually correct about the election. So any candidate that wanted to quote from that or use information off of that, that's a completely reasonable representation of the election. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I was going to call you on it.
Our webpage too.
You can't take it and put your name on it.
I'm sorry?
You can't take it and put your name on it. You could use it as an insert or quote from it, yeah.
Yeah, I just saw it, the back page where you used to put the dates and the calls and all that. I would cut and paste from that, and as long as I wasn't seen as taking advantage of being an incumbent, that was.
All right, thank you. Councillor
Everyone
Gunn.
will get it.
Thank you.
Councillor Gunn.
Copy and so we can copy and paste any part of it.
Yes.
Our brochure.
Yes.
Anything further, folks? Councillor McDonald.
Just real quick, this is where I had my note where there was no phone number, where I remember 4 years ago there was. But Amanda says she's going to send it to me, so I'm happy. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll include that email. We'll include that number in the letter that goes out to the public. Yes.
Oh, very good. Thanks.
Councillor Prout again, and then Councillor McDonald.
One last thing, I found the wayward piece that I was wondering about, and read it. This was the long version. On page 11, I was late at night last night when I was going through it. Under the 21(1) subsection B, talks about accepting a ballot by marking the ballot for not more than 11 candidates. Should that be not more than one candidate?
Well, it's just referring, here, let me find the number. Could you repeat the number on there for me, Councillor?
It's 20, it's under Councillor Ray, 22, 1, and then B. It's on page 11 of the.
Okay.
And the top part says, to accept the ballot by marking the ballot for not more than 11 candidates.
I think that's just a general reference to our election that we have 11 districts, but each ballot will only have the councillors running in that district on it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, thank you.
Bruce, could you read that section to us?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you're reading from, Councillor.
This was the package that came yesterday, I think.
Oh,
Or
okay.
email.
The procedures, the
Yes.
voting procedures.
Oh, okay.
And in it, on page 11, as I printed it off, it was Under Councillor Race 22-1, talked about the options that you have. This is the automated vote counting system shall provide an elector with 3 options as follows: to decline a ballot for the councillor race, which is the rejected ballot, or B, and this was what I was wondering about, to accept the ballot by marking the ballot for not more than 11 candidates.
I agree with you, Bruce. If that is public, being sent to the public, it's confusing, because it certainly would seem to indicate that each individual in the public, as they fill out their ballot, is entitled to choose up to 11 candidates.
Yeah, that's what I wonder. And
and in each district, people will only vote for one candidate.
That's correct. Yes.
Yes, I think that should be corrected before it's sent out.
Okay. This won't go to the public in general. There's a regulatory requirement to give this more complete procedures document to potential candidates. So that's why council received it, but I can correct that and re-email it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Anything further?
Yes. So this letter is going to go out to the public? Kevin?
This one goes to the public.
5758?
Yes.
Yeah. When is that going to be sent out?
Now, just in the coming days, as fast as we can print it and email it or mail it.
All right. So, okay. So it's going to go out as is, or are you going to do the change?
Well, that change was about another document. The only change I have so far to this general electronic election information for the public is to add a phone number for
to the bottom. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor of the motion to receive the report signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. And we'll go on next to the to correspondence. So our first piece of correspondence is from Kansas County Transportation Society, and it's a letter of appreciation for the funding we provided for them. Have a motion to receive.
Motion second.
I'm sorry. It was moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Young. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. Next is a similar letter from the Milford House, Milford and Area. Pardon me. Milford and Area Community Association. I have a motion to receive that report. Councillor Gunn, seconded by the warden. Discussion.
Who was the seconder?
Yeah.
Sorry.
The deputy warden.
Thank you.
All in favor.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that and thank Milford Area Hall for such an in-depth report on how they use the money and how much of their own money they put up. They work very hard for it. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's definitely gratifying to see exactly what gets done. That's lovely.
Exactly
right.
Right. Thank you.
Next, we have correspondence for, sorry, did we?
Need the question.
Question. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. And thank you for the reminder, Councillor. Let's go on to the Middleton Railway Museum Society. And they're interested in acquiring the steam engine, coal tender, 4 boxcars, water tower, baggage carts, all rails, railway ties, bolts, anchor spikes, and the boardwalk from Upper Clements Park. Councillor Fowler.
So moved.
Move to receive it or move to respond to it?
Respond.
Okay. And respond in the affirmative that we're willing to.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconder for the motion, seconded by the deputy warden. Discussion.
I need to know exactly what the motion is.
The motion is to accommodate the request made to us by the Middleton Railway Society.
By giving them the acquisition of the artifacts?
Yes, the artifacts they requested. All right. So that was moved and seconded. Discussion. Councillor Proud.
I'm curious, do we know the cost involved with that? I think it's a wonderful to be in Middleton, but do we have an idea of how we're going to do it, what the cost is?
Cool.
John,
We
maybe.
wouldn't be responsible for transportation. So let's start off, Councillor Sheridan, and then I'm sorry, pardon me, I've got myself tangled. All right, so your question is, do we know how much it would cost to have it moved? We're agreeing to provide, we're agreeing to give them the articles, but we're not agreeing to pay for the transportation.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sheridan?
That was my question too. I was going to amend it and just state that it was going to be their responsibility to pay to have it moved, because I'm sure that it's not going to be cheap to move that. They're how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe I'm going to ask John if you'd like to speak briefly about this.
John McDonald. Yesterday, you know what? I sometimes volunteer a little bit at the Middleton Railway Museum because I was a railroader for 35 years, and I know I know more about what they have than they know. And yesterday I met with A.W. Leal Cranes, head office Dartmouth, but they have offices all over the place. We spent 2 hours there going over every facet of the move. They have the ability to make the lift of all of this equipment and transport it. The cost of all that has not been given to me yet, but that is the first contractor we've talked to about moving it. It's not the first one we talked to, but it was recommended to us, we go to them. I suspect there are very few crane truck companies in the province capable of lifting and transporting a 75-ton locomotive built in 1905 without cutting it all apart, but they have the capability. And I was with them, like I say, 2 hours yesterday. If you have any questions in that regard, I'd be pleased to answer.
I will say I was able to be there for a portion of that time. I've never in my life had an opportunity to have such a close look at a steam engine. We were on top of it, and we were under it, and all around it, and through it. It was absolutely fascinating. And one of the gentlemen who was there with us said, "It's amazing how it'll turn every old man into a kid in about 5 seconds." And it really does. It's quite a remarkable piece of equipment.
If we can pull this off, right? If Middleton Railway Museum and partners from around the province and the community, if they can pull that off, it'll be a very special addition to downtown Middleton. I think it's a very cool project, and I'm glad they asked me to help them out.
Let's see. I'm going to go. John. Right. Go ahead, John, and then I'm going to go to Councillor's question.
The letter's there. I would recommend that we would offer the train to them as a result of their letter, but it'd be subject to them moving it off the site.
Absolutely.
But that should be in the motion.
Councillor Sheridan suggested amending the motion in order to include that. Councillor Sheridan, would you like to move that amendment?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll second that. I will.
Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion on the amendment.
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Just so you know, in order to make the move, there need to be a couple changes to the landscape directly adjacent to the locomotive and the boxcars. Okay, and I have not had an opportunity because I didn't get out of there till after supper yesterday. I haven't had an opportunity to discuss that with the CAO or anyone else. These are not major things, but nonetheless, the crane will need a level spot, and there isn't one right there. Okay, and maybe the fence dismantled and a couple bushes moved.
Right.
But other than that, that's all I have to say about the amendment. I just wanted you to know.
Yeah, well, I think if the amendment could state not simply transportation, but transportation and any associated costs, and that would cover off anything like that as well.
There you go.
Would you be all right with that, Councillor Sheridan?
Yes, that works. Thank you.
Okay.
We would be prepared to make it accessible for them, meaning that we would agree to have the fence dismantled and and the ground, it's gravel leveled, and any brush or trees moved, we would be okay with that.
Yeah, it's minimal really, John, but it does need to be done, right? The crane needs to be stable to make the lift and the move.
That's right.
Those will be some of the first questions that they'll have to answer. So from our part, we're prepared to let that happen.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Further discussion?
What? Oh, right here. Hold on.
Okay, Councillor Gunn.
Thank you. Is the county responsible for the removal of the assets that are associated with Upper Clements Park?
John?
As a property owner, we are bound to dispose of assets in accordance with the Municipalities Act or our bylaws. And the authority is granted to this office to dispose of surplus assets. But we actually, I'm glad this is being brought up because we are going to be doing an expression of interest. So there's been a lot of interest in certain rides and certain equipment that we have. So we'll be putting an expression of interest out. We'll have photographs. The idea is to put an expression of interest out, do a tour, have people come in that are interested in purchasing, and then ultimately they would have so many days to submit a proposal on what they want and how they want to get it. And then if items are not sold after that point, we're going to have an auction.
Then to answer that question,
Yeah, we're responsible. It's our land. We're responsible.
Then it's our responsibility. So when we're looking to get rid of these, we're not looking to incur a lot of costs for moving the stuff, are we?
No, exactly.
We don't want this to cost the county money.
If there's anything that they're doing on site, moving buildings or something like that, or something to do with the project, that's their responsibility. We're looking at surplus assets that we know that can be sold, basically, and that's what we're trying to do.
All right, further discussion. This is on the amendment, mind you. All right, Councillor Henry.
Cost will, if I may.
Councillor Henry first, then Councillor LeBlanc. Councillor Henry, you're muted, sir. Councillor LeBlanc will be next.
Thank you. I'm a little confused. I thought the amended motion says that that the contractor, that the museum will pay the associated cost of fence removal, vegetation removal, and leveling the platform. I thought I heard John say that the municipality will pick up those costs. Am I wrong with that?
Yeah, no, it's good to clarify. I was just basically saying that we would okay the disassembling of the fence and the removing of the bush or leveling the landscape in order to put a crane in there. We're okay with that. They'd want our permission to do that. We're okay with that. But we're asking them to see if they can come up with the costs associated with moving the historic train off the site.
Thanks, John.
All right. Councillor LeBlanc.
And that was exactly my point, to clarify that the cost, there would be no cost to the county. It would be on them to move and replace or put back or whatever the case may be if needed, correct?
If that's what council wants, yes.
For any of the assets that were sold. But we'll start with this one, is what you're saying.
Right. So the motion only deals with this request.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so on the amendment, if there's no further discussion, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Sir, could you read the amendment again?
Yeah.
Could you actually read that?
It was moved by Councillor Sheridan, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, to amend the motion by adding that the Middleton Railway Museum Society be responsible for the transportation and any related costs for relocating the items.
There's a point here. We just said that we would give it to Middleton, or because the CAO said that there was an RFP, and if that request for proposal is going out, wouldn't that be included of it when it comes to getting rid of the asset?
Thank you for asking. The expression of interest is completely separate from the train. The train is the museum is a not-for-profit group. We think the most logical location is for it to go to the museum. And but the other assets are being handled under the expression of interest and or auction.
All right, thank you.
Right.
I have one thing. May I?
Yes, please.
I am not on the board of this museum. In the past, I have volunteered a couple times because I labeled all their artifacts because they didn't know a lot of the things they own. I don't feel I'm in a conflict of interest here, but because I'm a major part assisting them with this, I'm very familiar with railway and what it'll take. Does anybody here feel I'm in a conflict of interest in this regard? I personally don't. I have nothing to gain. I just want to help them. I'm okay.
I'd suggest the only person who can identify a conflict would be yourself. If you feel that you don't have any difficulty at all wearing those two different hats, then you're the person who makes that determination.
Very good. I don't have a problem with what I'm doing with them and being a counselor at the same time. I feel that I'm the best qualified to help them because of my past, and I would really like to stay with them, and yet I really like being a counselor too.
Bruce, could you, Bruce, you could clarify?
I'm sorry?
Bruce Gill, Councillor McDonald is not serving on the board for the Railway Museum.
Point of order, sorry. Our solicitor's not allowed to give a personal opinion. He can give an opinion to council.
Oh, right, of course.
Can't give a personal opinion.
I was more asking to clarify on the process of declaring a conflict.
Yeah, okay.
No one else can declare it for John. Only John can declare it for him.
Then I'm okay. I really am. I just wanted to let everybody know. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm fine. In my
all right. On the amendment, which Carolyn has read, do you folks need to have it read again?
Might as well.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
It was moved by Councillor Sheridan, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc, to amend the motion by adding that the Middleton Railway Museum Society be responsible for the transportation and any related costs for relocating the items.
All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Motion's carried. And on the initial motion itself, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. Next, we have some correspondence from the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture. This reached us some time ago, and that what they're asking is that because of COVID, they are significantly behind in a lot of the coastal cleanup work that would normally be done by community groups. They're trying to have that moving again. They're asking if municipalities would waive any fees that might be associated with disposing of the articles that are collected in the coastline. Currently, if John's right there, let's see, there he is. Oh, you're muted, John.
Could you ask that again, sorry?
Sorry, what this letter is asking is if the municipality could waive any fees associated with disposing of plastic debris and whatnot that's collected by communities that are trying to clean up the coastline. And because we don't currently have a facility that's accepting that kind of community drop-off, there's nothing we can do on this field, is there?
We can't accept it, and therefore we can't give them a break.
Yeah. So in that case, I'd request is a motion to receive this for information.
Good, if they are charged at another site, we could entertain. If they ask for a grant to assist with that, we might be able to entertain that.
Sure. Well, could I ask for a motion to receive this information? Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor McNeil. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, Councillor Gunn?
Thank you very much. I think this is a great idea because there's a lot of trash that comes off the beach, and it would be too bad the Department of Fisheries wouldn't go a little bit further and actually pay people to go out and clean some of the garbage that's in the bay and around our waterways.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. All right. Next we have a letter from Heart and Stroke Foundation. So they're asking us for donations. Carolyn, yes?
Letter was received with in my name because council recently made a memorial donation to the Heart and Stroke Foundation. So this is probably just a follow-up to that, looking for
Understood.
more money.
Can I have a motion to receive for information?
So moved.
Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Gunn. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. We have remaining both our in-camera session and the 3 items that were added. I know that we have our solicitor on the line, and I know that his time is limited. If we're going to address these 3 additions, are these things that we can address quickly, or are they going to involve extensive conversation? Perhaps the movers could clarify for us. Councillor Sheridan and Councillor Gunn?
Mine is very quick. It's just in regards to fall cleanup. And it's just a yes or no question. Is there going to be a fall cleanup?
Yes, from September 15th to the 25th on your regular pickup day. I'll send a flyer out there shortly. Janice has one that I can circulate.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, and
Councillor Gunn?
so, and if I may, the Bear River Comfort Station, where is it on the county's priority list? Because I've asked people about this and trying to chase it along, and the province, for some reason, can't get excited unless it's on our county's priority list, and presented that way, might I add, by our CAO's office and our administration. So I really need to know how, what do we need to do to make this a priority? Bear River Comfort Station.
Okay, it definitely is a priority, and we're waiting for confirmation from the province. Any other aspects of that, I have to, because it involves another funding partner, and I'd have to go in camera.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough for now. Okay, and I'll
And-
come back to that at some point. The other thing was meetings.
Yes.
Meetings. And what are we doing? Are we going to ask the CAO's office or get our administration to gear up our chambers so that we can have our meetings in person again? Because you lose a lot here having meetings this way. The provincial government, in my mind, has got us working against ourselves, because if you go to the Privacy Act on how information is supposed to be stored and the rest of it, causes all kinds of problems. But yet we're all still meeting this way, and because of the COVID, they're allowing us. Getting back to that, can we, council, direct the CAO's office to gear up or make
ready.
our council chambers so that we can have meetings in them? Do you need a divider in between? What do we need? I think council should talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gunn. I suspect that our council chamber, with the current restrictions in place, can't be fitted in order to accommodate those. That's my suspicion, largely because of the front podium, because the number of people that must be in the room simultaneously. But what we could do is have a motion to direct the CAO to present any options on in-person meeting that might be available to council at Committee of the Whole in September. And that way someone needs to evaluate that room to see, can it even be done here? Because if it could be done there, that would be ideal, because our cameras are in place, the desk microphones are in place, all those things. If it can't be, we could look to see if there's a possibility of holding them elsewhere. But I'd rather than make a decision about it right now, which would be largely based on guesswork, I'd rather task staff with just bringing us a few options to show what's even possible to do. Would that make sense? Would you like to
make that a motion so that we can direct staff to do that?
So the motion is to direct the CAO to return at Committee of the Whole in September to present any available options for in-person meetings while remaining compliant with provincial directives.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Councillor Gunn, seconder for the motion, seconded by the Deputy Warden. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying,
Question.
Sorry, count Deputy Warden and then Councillor LeBlanc.
So
Can I get the
in the
mover and seconder
meantime,
first, please? Sorry. Could you
mover
read out the
was
mover and
Councillor
seconder?
Gunn and myself.
Thank you.
So in the meantime, did not that letter state that we have to have it via Zoom or something else to incorporate the public?
The Zoom must continue to be, Carolyn read the most recent directive to us before. Well, and actually that would be covered off by the motion, because the motion says while remaining compliant with all provincial directives. So if that's there, it'd have to be compliant with that too.
Yeah, there was another 5 or 6 points after what I read.
Right.
In the direction, yeah.
I'll go to Councillor LeBlanc, then back to Councillor Gunn. Councillor LeBlanc?
Well, I was wondering if Carolyn could give us some of the new comments that were on that directive. Does she have it? Do you have it there?
I do. It's 36 pages long.
Oh, well, summarize. Summarize the more important parts, my dear.
I can read this. So the effective at 8 a.m. on July 29th, 2020, it is directed by the minister that municipalities and villages in the province may hold meetings exclusively in person if all the following conditions are met. 1, the total number of persons present does not exceed a gathering limitation imposed in a Health Protection Act order. 2, all physical distancing requirements or other requirements imposed in a Health Protection Act order are met. So that is to meet entirely in person. Number 2 of the direction says, if the conditions set out in number 1 cannot be met, the municipality or village must not hold meetings exclusively in person and must instead hold the meeting partly or wholly as a virtual meeting by video or telephone and ensure that all of the following conditions are met. Do you want me to read the page of following conditions?
Well, before you go to that,
Point,
if I
yeah,
may ask, you said partially. So does that mean that some people could be in chambers and others could be on Zoom?
I can continue reading the other page of what follows.
Okay.
I'm going to hold you there for a
We
moment.
received this, or?
I'm going to hold you there for just a moment, because if the motion that Councillor Gunn has made is for all of council to get their head around all the requirements that are listed in a fairly lengthy document is going to take us an extensive amount of time. But what the Councillor Gunn's motion has directed the CAO to do is to actually sort through that and determine what options are available to us that are compliant with that list. So I'm personally very content to leave it in the hands of staff to come back with those recommendations.
Can I make a point?
Yes.
If I may? Thank you. You know, Carolyn, what you're reading, I appreciate it so much, but I'm quite sure I've read that through my email stream somewhere.
It was put
Or
out by
through
the
the government.
province.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm quite sure I've read that document you were starting to read. And it
Yeah.
goes on to say that we've got to make allowances so that perhaps 5 members of the public, we can limit to 5 members of the public. Sorry, John.
John?
I would just look, and there's could be costs involved because you can get plastic covers or you can get plexiglass to separate tables. And if this is going to be a long duration, you know, if this is going to be the way the new meetings will be held, then we'll have to price that up and get that done. And I've not looked at that. And I'm not sure if we just go with the plastic or if we go with the plexiglass. It's a council chamber. You want to make sure it's good quality in what you're using.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Councillor LeBlanc?
And also, it's a difficult time to find plexiglass, as we know.
Very expensive. It's very expensive. It's plastic too, because it's been ordered by so many.
Yes, and trying to find some even for King's Transit. They were waiting for their stuff as well. So that could be a difficulty at that time. Yeah. So anyway, my other question would be, so we have a motion. So does that motion also include that we meet in September council, if possible, or not? Just get started.
The motion here, we don't know what's possible, so there's no point picking among options yet. This is a motion to have staff determine what we can do. Once we know what the options are that are possible that we actually could implement, we can select from among them.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sheridan?
So would this include like possibly renting a larger hall where the chamber is small and avoid the plexiglass cost? It may be cheaper to rent a hall than to buy the plexiglass.
That again,
all the recording equipment has to be moved, and there's quite a bit to it, and it could be an option, but I haven't even discussed it with anybody here yet.
Right. I just wanted to throw that out there,
Yeah.
just maybe as an option. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to request a motion to go in camera under the MGA Section 22(2)C and personnel and e-contract negotiations.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Discussion? Oh, there's no discussion on the motion to go in camera. Pardon me.
Morrison has a question.
Carolyn, can you send us the figures, the numbers, please?
Okay. Thank you.
One is, are you, if you were calling the question on the motion, I can stop the recording.
Yes, if I could just continue, there is no discussion on a motion to go in camera. So let's finish the motion first, and then we can ask any attendant questions afterwards. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you back to the open portion of our council meeting. Deputy Warden, I believe we've got 4 items to be added to the agenda. Oh, you're muted right now. You're muted.
One is a 4-year contract with TIR.
Okay.
Bear River Comfort Station.
Right.
Contribution agreement as discussed in camera.
Okay.
And CAO's contract.
Thank you very much. Carolyn, let's go to our first one. Carolyn, would you read the suggested motion for us?
Can I have a seconder for that motion
Oh,
to
yes, I'm sorry.
amend?
Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. So for our first one, could you give us the suggested motion?
Yes, this is for the 4-year joint plowing contract for subdivision roads. It's to authorize the warden and clerk to sign the 4-year agreement with TIR for the joint contracting of winter road maintenance for local subdivision roads.
Moved by the deputy warden, seconded by Councillor Sheridan. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, next.
Contribution agreement amendment, that the warden and clerk be authorized to sign the amended contribution agreement as discussed in camera.
Moved by Councillor Gunn, seconded by Councillor Hemming. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay recorded.
Thank you. Motion carried. Third, Carolyn.
Yeah, just trying to capture the last one. The third one is the Bear River Comfort Station. And that is to direct the CAO to send a letter to the province regarding the Bear River Comfort Station, stating that this is a high priority for the County of Annapolis for when the next round of ICIP funding becomes available.
Moved by Councillor Gunn, seconded by Councillor Fowler. Discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. And finally,
The final one is CAO contract amendment. And this is to direct the solicitor to draft an amendment to the CAO's contract consistent with the discussion in camera.
moved by Councillor Gunn, seconded by Councillor Hemming. Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay recorded.
Thank you. Motion's carried.
Excuse me.
Oh, yes. Yes. Councillor. Okay, that's two opposed, and Councillor McNeil would like his vote recorded as well. All right, well, that is, I believe, our last order of business for the day. Thank you very much, folks. So this is a long session today. It's good work. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I declare the meeting adjourned.